Hello, welcome back to HunterTuned. Today we are going to be working on my Honda CRV, and we are going to be getting rid of the nasty rear differential clutch squealing noise. So if your CRV has ever done this... Oh, she squealed. She squealed loud. Oh, God. Imagine if we could launch this fucker, dude. So if your CRV has ever done that, or if you're doing an all-wheel drive Honda conversion and you're looking to use a CRV differential, they utilize what is called a clutch pack style. It's pretty much just like a shock reduction to the rear end. So what it does is it just kind of, so your drive shaft is hooked up to your transfer case. So when the front wheels notice slippage, it sends power through the T-case to the rear end. And when it transfers that power to the rear end, it also has to go through a clutch pack. So this clutch pack over here is just like how they are on an automatic transmission. You have a clutch drum, or you know, the clutch where the clutches sit inside of this basket here. It's a clutch basket. And then you have all your frictions and steel clutches here. So I already got this thing all torn down, and pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to be eliminating the clutch packs from this whole system. So this is just direct drive straight to the rear end. So theoretically what we want to do here is we just want to be able to take this drive shaft and hook it straight to this shaft right here. So this shaft is connected directly to the wheels. So if I spin the tire and the axle, the output shaft on this diff, or the input shaft on this differential, does indeed spin. So if I spin that shaft, it spins the wheels. Beforehand, if you were to spin the output shaft, or the shaft where the drive shaft hooks onto, which is this shaft right here, this is the one where the pinion or the drive shaft flange bolts onto. If you were to spin this guy, and this was all assembled onto here, like so. I'm gonna go over how I took this apart in a minute, guys. I'm just kind of showing you exactly how this works. Now I'll grab a light too if it is easier to see. Okay, so normally this system is in here. So there's clutches inside of this, and this has to spin, and those clutches need to grab inside of there with fluid pressure from the pump that is inside this differential in order to lock that together and then transfer the power into the axles. The problem with this system is when you try to abruptly, slam into all-wheel drive mode, or try to slam into that rear differential engaging, what happens is that sudden motion of those clutches trying to engage, it will squeal really loud, and these clutches will get hot and they will burn up against each other really fast. Because the pump, the rear fluid pump here, cannot send the fluid into the clutch drum fast enough. So this is just kind of a shitty design for performance. It probably works just fine for like a, normal daily driver, but when you're trying to use this style differential for a horsepower application, or like a drag racing application, or anything like that, or something that you're trying to, have fun with, definitely this is a great upgrade to do. So I know there's a couple other videos on YouTube of guys pinning the differential, which is pretty much where you drill through all those clutch packs and then you put a bolt in there and weld the bolt, etc., etc. I'm going to be doing it a little bit of an easier way, in my opinion. This is a little bit less time consuming. You don't got to drill a bunch of shit. You don't got to do any of that stuff. This is just going to be my method of doing it. If you guys have access to a welder, you can do this too, but you do need a welder for this job. You don't need a drill bit. So like I said, guys, there is a couple other videos on YouTube of, like, SP Tuning did one, where you drill through the clutch plates. You'd pretty much drill through these little plates and then put pins in there to kind of lock everything together. Because the main objective here of what we want to try to accomplish is, this is the center. Okay, so we have this piece here, which rides, this is connected to the drive shaft. This piece is connected to the drive shaft. This piece sits inside of here, which is where the clutch packs slide into. So this piece is what actually goes on to the rear differential input shaft. So these two pieces, the goal here is to have these two pieces be one solid unit. And you can't really do that because this is a separate piece from here. So how these two normally connect is through the clutch plates. So this is an inside spline, and that goes on the inside of this, and that slides down in there. And then this is an outside spline. So the steels are an outside spline, and the frictions are an inside spline. So that slides in there, and then those have to be pushed together as hard as they can for all this to actually lock together. So what you would do is you would drill all the holes through there, and then you would pin it so all of it comes together. What I'm going to be doing is I'm actually just going to be throwing a couple of these in, so like a friction and a steel here, and then another friction and a steel, so I have two sets of friction and steels in order to line this thing up where it needs to be. That's the only reason I have those in there. And now I'm actually going to be doing a little bit different method, like I was saying, and I'm actually just going to take little bolts or little pieces of metal, and I'm actually just going to jam them in between where these splines are on this piece right here, and then where the outside basket is. And I'm pretty much just going to go across and weld across with a bolt or with something like that, so this is one solid unit. And then over the top of the bolts, I will finish off and put a couple more clutches and steels on there, just so I can put this top cover back on, which realistically I don't even need to do, because this doesn't serve any purpose anymore, because this, you only need this piece right here on the outside in order to drive the dual pump So this is the rear end pump. These teeth line up on the end to pump this thing up. So these teeth here drive this guy right here. The only reason you need this piece on this at all is to drive this fluid pump, which we don't need the fluid pump anymore, because we're going to be direct drive, and we don't need fluid pumping into the clutch basket anymore because it's welded solid. We don't need any fluid there. So theoretically, we can just ditch this thing, unbolt it right off of the damn differential, unbolt it completely, and just shove on that clutch plate basket and the housing onto this shaft is really all we're going to be doing here. So hopefully that all made sense. And there's a little magnet in here. Is that full of shit? Not really. That's pretty neat. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to get a game plan here. I already got all the parts cleaned off. That is one major thing that you have to do, is get all these parts clean and not have any fluid on them, because if they have fluid on them, well, your weld isn't going to stick very well. So I am going to show you guys quick how I tore this all apart. It's a very simple process. Like I said, SP Tuning has a couple videos on this. And I think there is another guy on YouTube that has done this. I'm sure there's a few of them actually. But pretty much this housing right here is bolted onto the differential on the vehicle. So this just sits on here like that with a couple 8mm bolts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, maybe 9. I think there's 8. So 8 bolts hold the case onto the diff, and then you have one nut on the pinion flange right here. It's not the pinion flange because it's not actually hooked up to a pinion, but it is a drive shaft flange. So this flange is held on by a 34mm nut right here, and it's got a little shim and another shim. So that stuff just goes in order, and then you have all your bolts right here, 4 drive shaft bolts, and then those case bolts, and that big 34mm nut, and all this comes apart. So pretty simple to take this apart. It doesn't take long. It took me about 10 minutes, and to clean the clutch packs and stuff like that, I have another 10-15 minutes into, and then I'm assuming I'm going to have another 10 to 15 minutes welding it up. Alright guys, so my original plan was actually to take a bolt and put the bolt in between the splines here and the clutch outside of the clutch basket. But what is actually way easier, and what I thought of as I was doing this, is I can just weld. These are steel plates that I can just use as filler to weld this in. So pretty much what I'm going to be doing is welding the outside splines to the clutch basket and welding the inside lip of this steel to the inside splines of that shaft. So what I did is I just took, I think I got like one, okay, so I have 1 friction and 1 steel, and then you can slide this guy in, make sure that that sealing ring is facing down when you're looking at it this way. So that can just sit there like that. And I just want to make sure that this is aligned, you know, perfectly. So now I'm gonna just tack it together, and then I'm actually gonna take this whole clutch basket assembly and push it onto the shaft right here to make sure that everything is still aligned, between this and the clutch basket. Because like I said, we're just trying to make this one piece, so this inside piece right here will spin the same as the outside piece there. That's the goal. Hopefully this stuff makes sense to you guys, and I'm not going over your head. I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. Yeah, let's go. Alrighty guys, so I got my first layer welded on here. Like I said, I took a steel plate, one of the steel clutches here, welded it to the splines, and then welded the clutch to the spline here. That's all I'm doing. And now this is one solid piece, and these outside splines will connect onto the clutch basket. I'm probably going to weld the outside too. Why not? You could weld the outside where the splines touch the case here, but it's really not even needed. As long as you do this, it is one solid unit. So it is a little warm. I already test fit this, and it does fit. And like I said, you want to use one of the regular clutch material ones, or the frictions. You want to put a friction in there to align this piece inside the clutch drum. And if that is aligned, then you're good to weld it. Like I said, you're really only using these friction pieces to line it up, because they're not going to be doing anything now. So now I'm probably just going to add a few more of these steels in here, and I'm going to continue welding. And then the final piece is this guy, and we'll just weld that on the top and cap it shut. Fuck, I think I got a small little smudge on my lens from welding. My camera was sitting on the bench like right here, and I was welding, and I think a little splatter got on the camera, and now my lens is messed up. Whatever, hopefully it still looks okay. What I did, guys, is I welded that inside lip that I just showed you, and now I'm just welding the outside where you can actually get at the clutch steels. You can get at those steel friction plates and weld it from the outside on all these little tabs here. So that's what I'm doing now, is I just welded all those up. And now I'm probably going to put another layer of steels in. Hot potato. Okay, so this is going to sit here like this. Now we're going to grab another steel, and we're going to put that guy in there. We're going to do the same thing, and probably just do one more little weld section. So like we'll do one more set of these, welding it here, and then welding it on the outside as well, and then this will just be the final hoorah right there, and that'll be it. So these are sitting in here a little crooked right now from, just the welds being uneven down there. That's really not a big deal. I'm just gonna throw some beads on there. All right, don't yell at me for my welds, okay? I'm not a perfect welder, but we did get the steel welded onto the inside piece right there, and obviously it's welded on the outside as well, so inside and outside. No welding in here, obviously. That's where the splines come through. And now we're just gonna put the cap on so nobody knows it was fucked with. Just kidding. We're gonna weld this on too, and then we're done. Then we're gonna throw it all back together. So yeah, this is just a solid chunk of metal now. One of those friction discs is still rattling in there, but it's all right. Hopefully she'll hold, and if she doesn't, we'll go to the junkyard and get another diff and try again. But I think we'll be mint. I think she'll be mint. All right, guys, so now I have the cap welded back on, and everything is tight. One solid unit. So that is sweet. So we have the inside splines attached to the outside clutch basket. So that was the goal. We did it. Now let's see if it works. So we're gonna put this thing all back together. First things first is we have to make sure that this shim goes on the outside of this clutch basket here before we put this whole drum back into this housing. So I'm gonna slide this all back together real quick. That just pushes through, just like that, I think. Yeah, okay. So I'm just making sure that shim's down there, which it is. We're just gonna push this guy through. just like that. So now that that is sticking through the housing, we can put our flange on. So the drive shaft obviously goes out, so the splines go in, just like so, just like that. Make sure that's seated together all the way. Push that on as far as we can by our hands, and then when we run this nut down, it'll suck it together the rest of the way. So there we go. So now that that is all together and ready to go back on, now we can clean off these mating surfaces here and clean off the mating surfaces on the differential, so we can put a fresh bead of RTV on this son of a gun, and then slap it all back together, put some new fluid in it, and send it. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to put 80/90 in it because there's no clutch pump system in here anymore. We'll be fine with just normal gear lube. Alright guys, just got a fresh bead of RTV on here, cleaned off both surfaces. I'm going to slam this back together. I can't really film it by myself, and kind of shitty lighting. It's really easy to just slide this back on. It's not too complicated, so I'm going to do that. Alright guys, so I got the CRV all buttoned up. I just went to Walmart and got some 80/90 gear lube. That's all I'm going to run in here, considering we don't have the pump or anything anymore. So just getting this all cleaned up. We got it all sealed up, fluids in there. And yeah, gonna get back on the ground and go for a test drive. The only thing that I mean, I posted on Facebook, and like a couple people are obviously like, oh, that's not gonna work. You need a viscous coupler, which I agree, because the ratios are different between the front and rear, but I'm gonna send it. Like, I'm gonna try it, see if it works. If it chatters really bad or something like that, I'll get a viscous coupler for the center of the drive shaft. But I think we'll be okay. I'm not 100% sure. We're gonna try it. And this is really for racing in the snow and for ice racing. That's kind of why I'm doing this. This isn't gonna be like drag racing application, but I mean, who knows? If it works as is on concrete, it'll work on ice and snow for sure. So I'm gonna test it on concrete right now and see how it goes. Well, we're driving down the back roads doing 70 mile an hour. No issues so far, but it does feel like the gearing is a little uneven. Like the back is kind of getting dragged down. That's kind of what it feels like. I mean, it works. I'm driving down the road. It hasn't broken. I've driven like 5 miles so far. I'll try a baby launch. I did a baby launch in the gravel, and this thing felt like it was gonna wheelie. So I'm already happy. But we'll try one on the concrete here real quick, and then we'll wrap this video up. Like I said, it feels fine. It just feels like maybe the gearing is like I got 2 wrong size tires on or something. That's kind of what it feels like. But it's not anything like drastic by any means. Yeah, it literally just dead hooks. Like the car does not have enough power anymore in order to actually spin the tires. It won't spin the tires at all now. It literally just feels like it's wheeling. I bet you we could probably make it wheelie. I'm happy, guys. There is 4 black marks right now in the shop and no squealing to speak of. So there's 1 mark right here, 1 mark right there, 1 mark right here, and 1 mark right there. It's kind of hard to see, but I did a launch in the gravel out here. I'm probably gonna get out of here before the cops come, but I did a launch in the gravel, spun all 4 tires ripping, like it was just ripping, and then I did a donut on the ice. It was awesome. I'm stoked. I am gonna look into a viscous coupler though, because I mean, it seems fine, honestly. Like I think I'm just gonna send it for a little while and see if anything breaks. If nothing breaks, then keep sending it, right? This car was free, so this is like a experiment car, you could say. So, if anybody has viscous coupler ideas that would like be easy to install on this, let me know, without cutting and modifying and spending a lot of money, because I don't want to do that. Or maybe if I could find out what the ratios were, I could get the tire size a little closer with maybe a different set of tires in the rear. I don't know. It rips. I'm happy. Leave a like. Subscribe if you guys are new. And we'll see you later. Have a great night and a better tomorrow. Hopefully you learned something. And get out there and wrench.